Amongst all of the harrowing images which have been emerging from Ukraine in recent days, a particular photograph struck me forcefully. It shows a group of men carrying the heavy figure of the crucified Christ out of the Armenian cathedral in Lviv to protect it from bombardment. The scene looks something like the Stations of the Cross. The precious life-size figure of Jesus is taken down from the wooden cross and carried into the bunker for safekeeping. A bunker where countless Ukrainian people are already sheltering for safety. Jesus among his suffering people. 2 weeks ago, I called the office of His Beatitude Archbishop Shevchuk, who is the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Archbishop of Kiev, and also Archbishop Mokryski in Lviv. I wanted to assure them that the thoughts and prayers of the people of Ireland are with them and their people in the midst of the horrific turmoil that is impacting their country. They're continuing to celebrate Mass in the sacraments, on the streets, in the bunkers, and in the shelters, in the crypts underneath their churches, doing their best to bring to their fearful people the love and compassion of Christ. We simply couldn't celebrate the feast of our patron St. Patrick this year without reaching out in prayer to the people of Ukraine, especially those who are living here in Ireland with us. And I'm very pleased that some Ukrainian people have been able to join us this morning. And also, we think of those who are trapped in the horror and destruction and bloodshed at home. We also acknowledge the many Russian people in our midst who bear no responsibility for this tragic situation and who share with us a desire for peace and an end to the violence. Although we are many miles away from the horrific bombardment and loss of life, the sacrifice of the Ukrainian people is coming home to us in a shocking manner. And Christians and all people of goodwill here in Ireland are instinctively reaching out in compassion and prayer and solidarity for them. We are joining our small Lenten sacrifices with their immense suffering. The crucified Christ is down in the bunker and out on the streets, suffering with his people in Kiev, Lviv, and all the cities of Ukraine today. And Christ is walking with the millions of people who are being displaced from their homes, leaving behind their belongings and seeking refuge wherever it is safe for them. We commend them all today to the intercession of St. Patrick, who himself at a young age was captured and trafficked to these shores. No doubt he was frightened and fearful for his life. In the opening words of the confession, he writes, "We were scattered among many nations." It's heartening that there has been already such an outpouring of love and prayer and charity from Ireland to the people of Ukraine. So many spiritual and corporal works of mercy in response to this crisis. Many parish communities have already been establishing active links with charitable projects in Ukraine and along its borders. They've been sending whatever they can in vans and lorries to the front line to be with the refugees and also with those who are in their homeland. And on Sunday the 27th, that weekend, we'll be taking up a special collection at all our Masses to help the people of Ukraine. And you're also invited to support the work of Aid to the Church in Need, the Jesuit Refugee Service and Trokra, which are responding to this crisis, and Caritas Ukraine, Caritas Poland, who are doing such great work on the ground. As tens of thousands of refugees will arrive in Ireland in the near future, the Gospel is calling on us to open up to them our hearts and our homes. And we pray that this land of welcomes will offer a compassionate welcome to our brothers and sisters in need, and that many in our parish communities will pledge a space in their homes or other suitable accommodation. And I'm encouraging all our parish councils in the coming weeks to consider whether we might have suitable spaces in our parishes that could be pledged. I also call on the United Kingdom government to be generous in its response to the refugee crisis, and also for urgent cross-border cooperation here on the island of Ireland, so that bureaucracy does not get in the way of hospitality and welcome for these traumatised people. In the face of great danger and peril to his life, tradition tells us that St. Patrick prayed his breastplate prayer. You know it. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me. And today I pray that prayer for the people of Ukraine. May Christ be on your right hand, Christ on your left hand, Christ when you lie down, Christ when you arise, Christ in the heart of everyone who thinks of you, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of you, Christ in every eye that sees you, Christ in every ear that hears you. Let us appeal through our prayers this St. Patrick's Day for an end to this pointless massacre and the pulverizing of the property, bodies and spirit of the Ukrainian people. May all Christians of Europe, and also Patriarch Kirill and those in the Russian Orthodox Church, unite in daily spiritual and practical efforts to support a ceasefire, humanitarian outreach, and the immediate laying down of weapons. One thing which the terror in the Ukraine is teaching us is that we can never take peace for granted. Every single one of us must work always for peace and make sacrifices for peace. We know here in Ireland how peace cannot be taken for granted. It must be built and sustained not only by words, but also by our attitudes to others. Each one of us can choose in our daily lives to sow either peace or conflict, to sow love or hate. We choose to build up or to tear down, to heal or to hurt, to forgive or to resent. We choose to soothe or to inflame situations. It's poignant, you know, that as the world comes out of a global pandemic, which reminded us all so strongly about how connected and interdependent we are, it's strange that our continent, it's shocking that our continent has so easily lapsed into the pointless divisions and devastation of war. War, you know, as Pope St. John Paul II said, war represents a failure of politics. It is a defeat for humanity. It is a defeat for dialogue and diplomacy. Pope Francis says that the first casualty of war is the human family's innate vocation to fraternity. St. Patrick, who was traumatized by his own experience of captivity and forced displacement from his home, later became a reconciler, a peacemaker, someone who brought unity and harmony of faith to our country. The gospel today challenges us. Every home you go into, let your first words be, "Peace to this house." So let us unite today for the people of Ukraine.